Hello everyone, glad to be back. This video gonna be second update for today. First video was mainly about Ukrainian special military operation, but in this update I will also talk about some other topics that are making headlines in Russian media and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. If you did not see first update, if you have time, check that video. You may find it interesting. But now let's talk about news. By the way, I'm Levan Gudadze, and this is my channel in which I share latest updates on the news that are making headlines in Russia, and not just in Russia. Basically, so we have TASS news agency's report here, according to which Russian Defense Ministry made some additional statements about US biological laboratories on territory of Ukraine, and we have information here that Russian side did work on vaccines and antidotes, so that Russia is ready to deal with all 240 different pathogens and diseases that US militaries and US specialists were working on in laboratories that they had in Ukraine. Just imagine 240 different pathogens and diseases, and it's hard to imagine what US specialists were doing in that laboratories. And by the way, just recently, Russian Defense Ministry did made another statement about this topic, and they said that in parts of Ukraine that are under control of Zelensky's regime, US continues its work on pathogens and diseases. And today, some Russian officials, especially in Russian parliamentarians, did made statements. I did read a few of them on Telegram channels, and they were saying that US is working on biological weapons, and they want to generate some diseases, some viruses and pathogens to create some universal biological weapons, so that they can target different regions of this planet with the different pathogens and viruses. Scary stuff, to be honest. Truly scary stuff. I don't know what is really happening in those laboratories, but fact itself that US has so many laboratories all around the world, including in Ukraine, and fact that there were some outbreaks of diseases around those laboratories in Ukraine, and Russian Defense Ministry did spoke about it previously. It does makes you think what plans Pentagon and U.S. ruling elites truly have, why they are working on to create some pathogens and diseases. I mean, what is the end game here? So some scary stuff, truly scary stuff, and that's why, for example, China is very actively watching this story, development of this story, and we have statement here from China. This is RIA Novosti's report, and now China is demanding from USA explanations what they are doing in military BioLabs all around the world. I don't think US will answer to those questions, but yet again, just recently, we all did see what worldwide epidemic can do. Entire world was under lockdowns, and people were suffering not just from viruses but from lockdowns themselves. Economies were devastated, and to hear that US is actively working on pathogens and diseases, it does makes you question attentions that US has. So US elites, basically. So quite interesting stuff, and yeah, let's see how will this story will develop. As I understand, Russia will try to investigate everything possible to inform worldwide society. And as you can see, some other countries also are raising the questions and the demanding from US some answers. I believe India will probably join China and many other countries also, because it's dangerous, man. It's just too dangerous. You cannot ignore this kind of stuff, man. It's too dangerous. Let's continue now, and this is RIA Novosti's report about statements that Seymour Hersh made, US award-winning journalist. And this time, Seymour Hersh did write about corruption in Ukraine, and he said that Zelensky and his inner circle did stole at least $400 million US dollars that Washington did provide Ukraine for to buy diesel fuel in general. And these statements Seymour Hersh did made based on his sources in US intelligence community, and we all know that Seymour Hersh is one of the most respected journalists in our lifetime. So, of course, we all knew that Zelensky's regime is one of the most corrupt regimes in the world, and we can make mind about it, analyzing different sources and different informations. But when Seymour Hersh is talking about, and he is very detailed in his statements, and he's saying that he has information from his sources in intelligence services. I mean, his words have a different weight, let's say this way. And I don't know how will US society react on this information, if US mainstream media even report about this. But one day probably US elites will be forced to give some answers, because I mean, we are talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of US taxpayers' money that was stolen by some war criminal and mass murderer like Zelensky and his henchmen are. So I think this story will have some continuation, and Seymour Hersh will not stop his investigations, but he already did great job to world community. And yes, I believe time will come, and US and European elites will be forced to answer for the actions. Let's continue now, and we have statement from Defense Ministry of Serbia. As you know, in internet and in Western media, constantly circulating information that Serbia did provide Zelensky's regime with some weapons, and we did hear quite a few times that President of Serbia denied supply of weapons to Ukraine, and now we have statement from Serbia's defense ministry, which is also denying that Serbia or Serbian militaries did send any military equipment to Zelensky's regime. It's possible that this kind of information is circulating in the Western media and in different internet pages, to create some divide between Russian and Serbian governments. But probably in coming weeks and months we will learn some more. And as I said many times before, man, Serbia is under huge pressure, and even if Serbia will be forced to do something against Russia, impose sanctions, for example, or send some weapons to Zelensky's regime, No one gonna be happy about it in Russia, but at least people will understand under how much pressure Serbia is, and no one gonna get mad on Serbia. Let's say this way. So let's see how situation will develop in this sense. This is TASS news agency's report, according to which, as you know, Russian ruble lately become quite weak, lost some positions, some exchange positions when it comes to US dollar, and Nabiulina spoke about situation on this field, and she said that Russian policies that are directed to deal with Western pressure and Western sanctions, these policies are like a pill, like a strong pill, and as any other strong pill, Russian measures, Russian policies also have some negative sidelines, and that's why as Russian side will stop using these extreme measures to deal with Western sanctions as soon as possible, as soon as economy will give such an opportunity to minimize these side effects, And as I understand, one of the side effects that she was talking about is that ruble is becoming weaker and weaker. And yet again, you have to balance here. You want to support export, you want to support big companies, because these companies are bringing in foreign currency, and this foreign currency then helping you to make ruble a little bit more stronger, but and the same foreign currency you need for trade, for foreign trade. And yes, you have to, it must be some golden middle to balance which way should go, support export, or make sure that ruble is strong enough. So probably in coming months we will, because Nabiulina spoke about it, probably ruble will become more stable in coming weeks, probably. But eventually, I did predict many times before that I was saying that ruble will be 80, ruble will reach 80 mark, and it did. And I believe before end of this year, ruble may reach even 90 or 100 mark, 100 ruble for $1. But yet again, as Nabiulina is saying, it's all about balance. It's all about balance in economy. Russia cannot, I do understand that Russia cannot not support export. Companies that are exporting some goods, because these companies are bringing in foreign currency, which is essential in foreign trade. And because that's the case, then it's much difficult to deal with the ruble. So ruble will probably become a little bit more weak. I'm not financial expert, but I do understand that it's all about balance between what is more important. And as I understand, Central Bank and Finance Ministry of Russia for now thinks that foreign trade is more important, because it brings to economy much more than a strong ruble. So yes, it is what it is, man. Let's continue. And by the way, of course, some experts are saying that energy prices, oil prices, and gas prices may rise in next few months, and maybe even reach $100 for a barrel again. And if that's the case, then of course Russia will have more foreign currencies. And if that's happened, then ruble may become a little bit more stronger. just a little bit. I don't think we're gonna see situation when like it was a few months ago when $1 was exchanging for 50 rubles. That time is gone forever probably. Now let's continue now, and this is gonna be last news for today's short update. This second update. Excuse me. And I will share with you this information. You may be surprised, or some of you, that on Russian soil in Russia there are many active volcanoes, and one of the volcanoes in Kamchatka region did become very active recently. Shiveluch, that's the name of this volcano, and just a few days ago this volcano erupted, and ash plume went up to 10,000 meters high. And yesterday, late afternoon, this volcano erupted again, and this time ash, volcanic ash went up to 8,000 meters high, and that's images from Kamchatka region. Just look at this, man. This is all ash, volcanic ash that are moving with the wind and coming down like snow on surrounding areas. Some, it's very strange to see these kind of pictures in Russia, but yet again, Russia is a huge country, and you have not just snowing mountains, or not just mountain peaks that are always on the snow, but also volcanoes and deserts and taiga and just everything, man. So yes, I hope you will find this short update interesting, and if so, please hit that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. That will probably increase my chances to reach wider audience, and more we are our community, more chances are that this project will survive. And I want this project to survive, for God's sake, because I do what I like to do, and I hope this project will survive, and I will have a chance to make some more content, and more interesting content. So let's see. And by the way, if you think this channel is interesting and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donation through PayPal or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box. This is it for now. I wish you a nice day. Take care, and see you soon.